Hi, I'm Brooke, and I'm going to teach you 3 different ways to check if a string is a palindrome. So the first one I'm going to show you is the native way, the second one is going to be iterative, and the third is going to be using an inbuilt Python function. So we're going to start with native, and we're just going to create a function first that is basically, is it a palindrome? Now, if you don't know what a palindrome is a word that is the same way reversed as it is going forward. So ABBA is a palindrome. What else is a palindrome? We can say like Oro, we can say anything that is the same going forward as it is back is a palindrome. Anything that is not, like such as hello, is not a palindrome. So the first thing we're going to do is create the function, is it a palindrome? So define the function first. We're going to take in a string. We can just do pal. And then we're going to check, because it's a native function, we're just going to check using string slicing. And what we're going to do is just return whether or not it is a palindrome by checking to see if it is true or false that the reverse of the string is the same as the one going forward. So we basically check pal, or we can return if pal is equal to, and we use double equals because we want to return a Boolean. Return pal is equal to pal at double. So we start at the end of the string and then we end at position 0. And then we're going to move with a step 1 backwards through the word. So we're going to go through it and then step backwards and then paste it. So hello would become ole, ole. And once we have that, that's literally it. That's our first way to figure out if something is a palindrome. And we can check that by printing out the function, taking in a word such as ABBA. And let's just do another one with a word such as hello. So once we run this, we can see that it prints true because ABBA is a palindrome, and false because hello is not a palindrome. All right, the second method is called the iterative way. And this is going to be one where we use a for loop to actually go through the length of the string, and we're going to start in the middle of it as well, and then go both ways to see if both ways is the same. So if we were to use ABBA, for example, we would start in the middle here, and then we would check to see if B is equal to B, and then we would move I forward to see if A is equal to A. So we would essentially check this side is equal to this, and then this side is equal to this. So let's create another function. Let's say, define is palindrome iterative. Take another palindrome. So the first thing we need to do is have a for loop that takes us through the actual palindrome. So we're going to do for I in the range of 0 to the length of the string divided by 2, because we want to start in the middle. And then we want to make sure we're going through an integer because we can't iterate through a string. So we change that to an integer and then turn it into a for loop. So we now have, oh, I forgot a parenthesis. So we now have a for loop that goes through our string, our palindrome, or our not palindrome. Then we're going to check to see if, this is kind of the tricky part, then we're going to check to see if I right here, since we're starting in the middle, this is going to be our I first, is equal to the length of the string minus whatever I is minus 1, since that's going to be, that's going to subtract this part of whatever I is, and then minus 1 over here, which is going to bring us over to B. And it does the same thing with A. So if we go over to A and we go through the length of the string and then we subtract the rest of I and then subtract another of 1, then we get to A. Okay, so it's a little unintuitive, but what we're going to check to see is if the palindrome at I, which is going to start at our B here, is not equal to palindrome at the length of wherever the palindrome is, or the length of whatever the palindrome is, so all throughout it, minus I minus 1. And that's going to take us to the opposite side of whatever we're checking after we're halfway through the actual string. So that is our if statement, and it looks a little messy, but it should give us the supposed output. And if this is not true, if we don't have I equal to the other side, if we don't have I equal to the other side of the actual word, then we're going to return false, because it is not a palindrome. It would mean that this letter is different than this letter. So otherwise, we're going to return true. And we're going to do that outside the for loop, return true. And that should, if we run this, call this a couple times, is palindrome iterative, take an ABBA, and we'll do a lot more, oh, I forgot to print it. We'll do a lot more like, just to see, rather than just ABBA and hello, is palindrome it, hello, and we'll see if some other ones work just with like words that aren't even words, maybe like LO, oh, LOL, that works. I don't know if that counts as a word. So let's go ahead and run that. And we can see these are the first two, but these are from here. It looks like that one works. This is a palindrome, this is not a palindrome, and this is a palindrome. So it looks like our iterative function also works, which is great. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. Perfect. Okay, so our very last function, and I'm going to title this, that we're going to create is going to represent the inbuilt function that we use for Python. So there's an inbuilt function called reversed where you can literally just reverse the string, and all we would have to do is compare our string to the string that is reversed. So very simple, and we're using the inbuilt function. So define is palindrome inbuilt. Take in another palindrome, supposedly. And then we're going to define a reversed string by just calling it reversed string. And then we're going to use the function called reversed. And what we're going to do is also use this function called join, which basically joins the sections together by a certain string, in which case we would just join it by nothing. So we don't have anything in between the two tick marks. And then we're going to use join and take in a reversed version of our palindrome, or our supposed palindrome. So dot join, and we're using our reversed we're putting together this string of our reversed palindrome to create a reversed string of what we have. And then literally all we need to do is check to see if our palindrome, our original palindrome, is equal to our reversed string, return true. Else, we return false. And then that should work. And then we can check it down here. I think that should work. I'm going to be confident about that. Take an ABBA. I'm sorry, I'm using the same words. Print is palindrome inbuilt. Take in hello again. And I'm trying to think of another one, but I'm not creative enough right now. Take an LOL, and it should give us the same output as before, which is true, false, true. So let's try that one more time. And it looks like it works. So we have true, false, true for our third inbuilt function palindrome. And there you go. We have 3 different ways to check to see if a string is a palindrome. Each of them are very simple. Each of them have the same runtime, I believe. I believe their time complexity is big O of n for each version. And also the auxiliary space time is big O of 1. So you're not gaining or... Oh, no, sorry. Using reverse is using big O of n because you're reversing and then checking. So you want to make sure. This one takes up the most space. But they all have the same time complexity, which is big O of n. But yeah, hopefully this helped. If you want to learn how to reverse a palindrome, these 3 functions, you can use either one. You can use native, iterative, or inbuilt function. Depends on what you're using it for. And I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching.